Yeah.
I'm gonna be doing my homework.
I think if we're ever gonna get 60, we gotta go like,
Yep.
like go to
So what other class has done in years past, I say 60, and there's always one kid in class who starts going, what? She's classic. She's just classic. Okay, today we're going to move from multiplying to dividing. We're just going to do 8 problems here. You guys are going to have time to work on that assignment. We have x to the 6th divided by x to the 4th. Let's put all the cell phones away so that we set aside our addiction for a moment. Okay, x to the 6th divided by x to the 4th is?
X to the, I don't know what.
It is x to the 2nd, and here's why. X to the 6th means x times x times x times x times x times x. That's what's on top. On bottom, we have x times x times x times x. So if you notice, something divided by itself is? So with a wa rhymes with un.
1.
1, yeah. So those reduce to 1, those reduce to 1, those reduce to 1, and those reduce to 1. You can see that everything reduces to 1 except for 2 of those x's, which produces x squared. Okay? So when you're dividing monomials, you can subtract the exponents. Similarly, in example number 2, we can subtract the exponents as well. But we also have coefficients out front. What do you think we do with the 10 and the 5?
Divide them.
We divide them and we get 2. And then we have x to the 3rd over x squared. What's that going to leave us with? X, and it will sit in the numerator.
Why is the 2 on top?
So it would be a 2 over 1.
Oh.
Okay. And then we have y to the 3rd over y to the 7th. Are there more y's in the top or in the bottom? The bottom. So you are going to have y to the 4th left in the denominator. Okay. So you don't have to write the 1. You could just write 2x over y to the 4th. If you chose to write the 1 in front, that would be fine. But that's our result.
I got negative.
You got what?
Negative 4.
Okay, excellent. JJ is asking a question that is super important. I kind of skipped that because it didn't quite make as much sense first hour, but since JJ brought it up, we'll do it. In first hour, I wrote this as 2 over 1. And then I wrote x to the 3rd over x squared is x, and y to the 3rd over y to the 7th is y to the negative 4th, okay? Because we subtract the exponents. One rule we have in mathematics is you're not allowed to leave a negative in an exponent, okay? So if you have 2xy to the negative 4th, if you have a negative exponent, you move it, okay? So it goes 2x over y to the 4th and becomes positive down there, okay?
So either way, it's just going to the bottom.
Yep. If you had a negative exponent in the bottom, it would come to the top, which brings us to example 4. Let's try example 4 together. Notice on this one, you have a negative 6. You could rewrite this as x cubed times x to the positive 6 by moving it up to the numerator. So negative exponents have to move. They're in the denominator, they move to the top. They're in the top, they move to the bottom. X to the 3rd times x to the 6 is x to the 9th. X to the 9th. I'd like you to try example 3 on your own. See if you can write that in simplest form. Hi. Oh, you do.
You are welcome.
Or my tripping. These ones have always been good. There's one. All right. These always.
Okay, let's talk about number 3 together. 8 and 12 are both divisible by
4.
4, so I reduce it to 2/3, okay? X to the 3rd over x to the 9th, we'll do it JJ's way. 3 minus 9 is negative 6, and 7 minus 2 is 5. So what that means is that this negative exponent, it must move to the bottom. So if you wrote this as 2y to the fifth over 3x to the sixth, that's just fine.
Why wouldn't it start on the bottom? Because there's more x's on the bottom.
So if you approach it, there's two ways to approach it. You can either subtract them and put the result in the numerator, or you can look at it and say, oh, there's more in the denominator, so I'm going to have 6 in the bottom. Okay, look at number 5. We got a lot of negatives going on, don't we? Okay, and so what we're going to do is we are going to move these to where they are not. So this x to the negative third is going to have to move to the bottom. I'll write this as 3 over 9. And then the x to the third is going to go to the bottom along with the x squared. Okay? So I've taken care of those. The y to the negative fifth comes to the top to become y to the fifth. Got rid of that. Y to the negative fourth goes to the bottom to become y to the positive fourth. So the first thing I've done is I've moved those things that have negative exponents. Okay? Now let's reduce. What is 3 over 9? 1/3. So I'm going to put a 3 in the denominator. And then I have x to the third times x squared. That gives me x to the fifth. Do I have anything in the numerator other than the 1? What is y to the fifth over y to the fourth?
Y.
Just y. So you can put a 1y or just y. Okay. Whoop. Example 6, I'm going to square and cube these. 3 squared is 9, and then what do I do to the exponents when I have a power to a power? I multiply, and I get x to the negative fourth. And then in the bottom, you have a 2 to the third, which is 8, and we'll have x to the negative 15th. Now I have a problem. I have some negative exponents, so I will move them. The 9 stays, it doesn't have a negative exponent. And the 8 stays, it doesn't have a negative exponent. But on the top, I have x to the 15th, and on the bottom, I have x to the 4th. And I get 9x to what power? 11th power. I'd like you to try example 7 on your own, and then we will do 8, and then you can start your assignment after that, okay? Try example 7 on your own. See if you can square that and see if you can find out.
Oh, 15 minutes.
I asked Mr. Luther if he wanted to take a picture with me downstairs today for picture retake day. And he said no.
It's not very hard.
I know. I'm starting to think that he doesn't want to be my friend.
That's okay.
He's a Packers fan, so maybe I don't want to be his friend.
That's a good comment.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, when you square the top, I get a 9x to the 6th. And when you square the bottom, you get a 25x to the 8th. So the 9 and the 25, those stay just like they are. But what will I have? I will have x to the what power? Second power is in the top or bottom?
Bottom.
Bottom, because there's more in the bottom. Okay? Just like that. Okay, the last example, number 8. This confuses a lot of people. 5 squared 25. Notice how we have a negative exponent out front here. Okay, a negative exponent at the top there. We haven't seen that yet. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to start this problem by getting rid of this negative exponent. The negative means that we flip stuff. So I'm going to flip this entire fraction. That's what the negative tells me to do. I'm not going to worry about the 3. I'm just going to worry about the negative. So I end up with 2x to the 5th, y to the negative 1, over 4x to the negative 2, y, and now that all is being taken to the 3rd power. So sometimes in this problem, people get upset and they say, Mr. Gens, you moved that x to the negative 2 to the bottom, so now it has to become x to the positive 2. I haven't used up that negative yet. I just used up that negative out front that applies to everything. Everybody got that? Okay, now you get to make a choice. You can either cube everything, or you could try to reduce what's on the inside first. Elena, what would you prefer to do? Would you like to cube everything, or would you like to reduce what's on the inside first? It doesn't matter. There's multiple approaches to this problem. She would like to focus on what's on inside, and then at the end we'll cube it all. That's just fine. We'll do that. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite this. So I have 2 over 4, and then it looks like the x squared comes to the numerator. So I have an x to the 5th and an x squared. So I've used up all of those. And then it looks like this y to the negative 1 is going to come to the bottom. So I have a y and another y to the 1. And that's all to the 3rd power. So what does the top fraction become? Yep, so this is 1/2, and in the top I'll have an x to the 7th. And the bottom you have a 2y squared, because again I have a 1/2. The 1 sits in front of this x right there. Now I've done what Elena has asked, which is to simplify what's on the inside, and now I cube it, and I get x to the 21st over 8, y to the 6th. I multiply my exponents, and I take 2 to the 3rd power. So again, some of these could get rather challenging. I gave you one that's, I'll be honest, I'm not going to give you that kind of a problem on the test, but I do want you to see it at least. So you've got about 13 minutes. You have an answer key right up here. It's just a one-side worksheet, just the front. You just have 12 problems. I can help you out. You can check the answers when you are done.